Alright, a cold and rainy day, but we're gonna do this. We're actually gonna do this. So let's go. The offensive of and for Kiev 2022. The 24th of February 2022. So in the early mornings of the 24th of February, Russian military forces began to conduct artillery and missile strikes against targets in Kiev Oblast, including the Broyeslyp International Airport, which is Kiev's primary airport and not a military installation. Later that morning, Russian forces that had previously amassed in Belarus crossed the border into Ukraine and entered the Kiev Oblast from the north. The Russians seized control of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which is located close to the border after a skirmish with Ukrainian troops. So now, radiation speaks Ukrainian, or we get stuck for soon. Later that day, Russian paratroopers landed in the Hostomel airport and briefly seized control of it, after which intense fighting for control of the airport began. The Russian paratroopers were later repelled from the airport by Ukrainian troops, according to Ukrainian officials. Russian forces also had attempted landings in and around the Kyiv reservoir. So, at the night of the 24th of February, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that subversive groups were approaching Kiev. That night, United States Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said during a conversation with Congress people that some Russian mechanized infantry units have advanced within 20 miles or 32 kilometers of Kiev. Second day, the 25th of February, coming to an end now. On the morning of the 25th of February this morning, the Russian Air Force continued its bombardment of the capital city, bombing central Kiev. Ukrainian forces later shot down a Russian plane over Kiev. The plane crashed into a 9-story apartment building complex, setting the building ablaze. At 7:47 GTM plus 2 time, a Ukrainian army unit detonated a bridge over the Teterev River near Ivankov, halting a Russian tank column and advancing from Chernobyl. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine later said that Ukrainian airborne assault soldiers had engaged the Russians in a skirmish at Ivankov and Demir. At mid-morning, Russian forces had entered Oblyan district, an area in the northern portion of Kiev that is about 6 miles or 9.7 kilometers from the Verkhovna Rada, or the Capitol building, or the Senate, or the presidential palace, whatever you like to call it, in your country. Throughout the day, gunfire was heard throughout several wards in the city. Ukrainian officials described the gunfire as arising from clashes with Russian troops. Mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, vowed to take up arms and fight. His brother, Vladimir, expressed the same sentiment, having joined the reservists several months earlier. At some point during the day, a Russian military column was destroyed by Ukrainian forces on a bridge in the city of Imprin, destroying at least one vehicle and leaving its crew dead. And that is the obviously inhumane and disgusting war that is the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. Go Ukraine. No, we can't pick sides. Anyway, go Ukraine. The ghost of Kiev. For a morale boost. Videos on social media began widely circulating of fighter jets in Ukraine on the first day of the Russian invasion of February 2022, claiming a single pilot took down multiple Russian jets. A possible or legendary pilot of a MiG-29 nicknamed the Ghost of Kiev by the Ukrainian public and even, of course, was spread to the online community. Supposedly won 6 airfights in the sky of Kiev during the first 30 hours of the invasion. The 6 planes were reported to be 2 Su-35 planes, 2 Su-25s, and a Su-27, which are more than capable of destroying this one. So wow, this is basically like well, the MiG-29 is nothing to scoff at either, but the MiG was made in 1982 and first appeared in 1977, and the Su was made. Well, the Su was actually made in 1977 too. Anyway, well, the propeller thing kind of went out of the window really quick, right? But basically, if the ace does exist, they would be the first recorded fighter ace of the 21st century, as well as an ace in a day, which is a actual interesting, which is basically the what it says on the title. Becoming an ace, you must have five planes down to your name in a day. So most of the times this would happen during an invasion, like the Battle of Britain, stuff like that, or preemptive invasion with your forces, of course. So that's real interesting of the 21st century as well. So then again, it was the war on terror with people living in the mountains at that point. So I mean, the first half of 2021, not the best start, but it still counts. It still counts, even though the 20th century has been marred by the war on terror. The Ukrainian Ministry of Defense claims that the Ukrainian Minister of the the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense claims that should the downings be confirmed, the ghost of Kiev could be one of the dozen of experienced pilots of military reserve who urgently returned to the armed forces of Ukraine after Russia invaded. So this is not some new guy or gal or them that actually got back into the cockpit. In a tweet, it refers to the ghost of Kiev as the Air Avenger. And of course, we have the soy boys talking about freaking Putin is freaking Thanos at this point. Oh my gosh, bro. Get off of Twitter, dude. However, the commander-in-chief, Valery Zaluzhny, only confirmed a total of 6 Russian planes down in the first day of the fighting of Ukraine. So it might not be one person, but there are 6 planes down in the first day. So the ghost of Kiev has been credited as a morale boost for Ukrainians to bolster the optimism in the face of the Russian invasion. Though the urban legend is likely to be a deliberate creation, or it will be deliberated later as to whether it was one or many people. But nonetheless, with the stories becoming shared on regular and by regular Ukrainian people, as well as on social media before, the official Ukrainian media accounts also alluded to the pilot in regular updates as well. Fake footage of a dogfight and downing featuring the Ghost of Kiev has been made in a digital combat simulator and uploaded to YouTube by the YouTube user, openly stating in the description that the footage was not real and only merely a tribute to the Ghost of Kiev. Real or fake, to keep fighting. The video was also shared by the official Twitter account of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. What a chat! Wow! Beautiful, beautiful, dude. Task and Purpose argued while it was highly unlikely there were even 6 air-to-air takedowns in total, given their rarity in the 21st century, because most of these are like swift bombers. They're like air-to-ground instead of air-to-air. Given that, though, and Ukrainian strong military and missile defense, the Ghost of Kiev was real enough as the spirit of the Ukrainians fighting the Russian invasion of their country. So I must say that is good. That is great. Ghost of Kiev. Samina Brog. God is with us. Anyway, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I did realize the one that I first did was a bit too fast, so I really tried to tone it down there just now. So hopefully you enjoy that one. I know it's been a tough time, but keep your head on, and hopefully we'll see this through together. I know we had COVID for the last, I would say, it's starting 2 years now, because it's COVID-19, but really it started to pick up in 2020 when it spread worldwide. So with that being said, I hope everybody's doing good. We're not gonna get drafted. I hope it. I have an interview Tuesday, so I hope we don't get drafted. But this is not a World War III situation. So keep your thoughts and prayers and your anxiety and fear for the people of Ukraine right now. So I hope you enjoyed. I think that's my grandmother back. So without further ado, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And pray for Ukraine. And pray for the Russians that are actually protesting the war as well. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And until next time, learn something. Samina Brog. To the people who took Snake Island, see Samina Khoi. Learn something.